progress is really painful at times. And it's so easy to want to give up when we just want an easy fix. As a society, we have been trained to, pop a pill, flip a light switch, things just to happen smoothly because we don't want to feel pain. We're so uncomfortable in it. And we hear often from people that are tempted or have given up on trying these tools because it's not always smooth the very first time or the second time that you do it. It takes practice and there could be a backlog of emotion. So today we are going to be talking about what that process can look like, how to go through it, and why it is so important not to give up when you start that journey. So that is where we are going today. Welcome to the Connection Codes podcast. This is the podcast where we break open those emotions that take us from being disconnected to connected in our relationships and in ourselves. I'm your host, Tara Wages, and joining me today is marriage and family therapist, clinical sexologist, Dr. Glenn Hill, and his incredible wife, Phyllis Hill. And together, they have founded the Connection Codes. And we're so glad you're here.
Hello, world.
Hi, friends.
I'm jumping in. You always start us off, but I want to start us off today.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Love that.
Because, you did? Well, sorry. I just want to acknowledge that y'all's anniversary. Was it last week?
It was.
It was last
week ago today.
And how many years was it?
42.
42. And in order to celebrate your anniversary on our podcast, I would love for y'all to tell your engagement story. We've never told it on the podcast.
Oh.
And it is a great story to tell. Is that okay?
Oh, yeah.
Well, it is funny because as soon as you say that, I get hit with shame because there were things that did not go according to plan. And it was an incredible story. Things are altered for us because of emotions that hit us. Because immediately when you said it, and we didn't rehearse this, I'm just like, what? That's a dumb idea, Tara. Nobody wants to hear this story, this disastrous story. But it actually is a cool story.
I knew you I just heard it recently for the first time. And I couldn't believe that I had never heard it before because it is not your, typical, you're in a restaurant, bends down, or you bite into the roll or dessert, and
what you'll learn as you hang around with some more is Glenn is not your typical person. And that's not a compliment.
All right. Tell us what happened.
Well, even before the big question, I would say from early in our relationship, we met super young, as many of you have heard. I was 15, Glenn was 16. So even early on, we talked about marriage, as in kind of we just knew, but we were very young and we didn't even
say early on. How early on?
I think right away. You probably brought it up. How long? I don't know. You tell.
2 weeks. We were together 2 weeks at this camp.
Okay.
And we were discussing it.
All right.
2 weeks.
So,
which we're not recommending.
No.
For dating.
And we didn't even live in the same city. So we had a long distance relationship at 15 and 16 and many, many stories in between all of that. But somewhere along the way, I would say probably 2 years in is when we went ring shopping. We did that together in a mall at a real jewelry store, which that was a big deal because we were so poor. And then I don't know if we walked out of the store with the ring or if you made payments and went and got it eventually.
Probably payments. I
would think so. But I never saw the ring again until the big question came. So I didn't know where the ring was. I didn't know if he was ever going to make it formal. We just kind of had always talked about it, not, so.
And it was a set, engagement and wedding.
Band, right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then you tell the rest of it because you're the one who decided to do it the way you did it.
So New Year's Eve, 1981. Yeah, so 80 to 81. So New Year's Eve. So I'd set this up. My sister was helping me. And I'd always pictured having fireworks go off exactly at the moment whenever I just thought that has to be cool. That has to be romantic. So it's going to be New Year's Eve, so we're going to set off fireworks exactly whatever I ask her, and when hopefully she says yes. So my This is the shame part. And it's amazing to me. I'm a fairly intelligent person. It amazes me how dumb I am in certain. And I now, as a connection coder looking back, I was probably so flooded with joy. It never occurred to me to think through the plan, to think through the process. So, and my sister is also a very intelligent person, and she didn't think it through either. So I didn't know anything about fireworks. I assumed that with, what are they called? Bottle rockets, that, you light it. And I just assumed it's just the tip of it that goes up in the air. I did not know that the whole thing goes up in the air. So my sister and I I don't remember, I think it was probably 100 bottle rockets. Right? It was a lot because we bought this huge candle. We lit it, all the little wicks on it, and let it sit for probably an hour so that it melted. And then we stuck probably 100 bottle rockets in this. And I thought, this is going to be so, just picture it in your mind. I ask her, she says yes. Explosions, and probably 3 to 5 minutes of explosions, which even that, I didn't know how that was going to work out time-wise. But anyway, so my sister put the candle on the hood of her car. Now, it was not a brand new Mercedes or anything. It was an older, ratty car. But on the hood of the car.
Well, she didn't think it was ratty.
No, it was her.
Right.
It was her car.
It was her car.
I think it was a Mazda. And it was in her driveway, which we were at her house. So you had me come outside.
She and I shared it.
Okay. So it wasn't weird that we were going out at the stroke of midnight on New Year's Eve. That's not that uncommon. So I didn't have any idea that this was the moment. It was just like, hey, let's go outside. And I'm pretty sure this is true, that she was hidden.
Right. The car is barely around the corner. We set it so that it was just, like literally 1 foot so that you wouldn't see the car.
Yeah. Or her, or what was on the hood of the car.
Yep.
So you and I just go outside like, oh, it's almost midnight. Let's go outside.
Yeah.
And then at the stroke of midnight.
So, and my sister can hear us. So I propose, Phyllis says yes. We've done all the wicks together. So she lights them. And now I can't see this part at this point, but the wicks are, lighting. Of course, she backs up just a little bit. And what we don't realize is this thing isn't going anywhere. All these sticks are stuck in the wax. So so all we hear, I propose, she says yes. And probably, I don't know, 5 seconds later, there is a massive explosion very close by. I mean, it's deafening. And then I hear my sister screaming. And again, I'm flooded with joy about the experience. There's fear in it too, but I don't know what's happening. I'm like, who just blew something up? And why is my sister screaming? Did she get blown up? I have no idea what had just happened. But what has happened is, all 100 of these bottle rockets have lifted this massive pot of wax up, probably a foot off the car. Then it fell back down onto the car, and they all exploded, blew the paint off. It did not crack the windshield, which is amazing. Oh, wow. But blew the paint off of her car. And, of course, then she's screaming because of this disaster. And I'm just trying to bask in the wonder of this woman who just agreed to live her life with me. And I'm like, who just blew something? Yes. And of course, poor Phyllis doesn't have any idea what's happening. I had a little bit of a hint, but she has no idea who blew something up and why is there someone screaming around the corner.
Yeah.
And it was supposed to be a really romantic gesture, and it kind of flew. It kind of fell a little
on me.
Flat. It fell a little flat, but I did have the ring, and the ring was on my finger.
Yes. And you can always say that your love is explosive.
Oh, there we go. I hadn't thought of that. So 42 years later,
your love is explosive.
Yeah. So,
no, I love that. When you told me that the first time, I was like, how am I just hearing this story for the first time? I think it's so incredible. Thank you for sharing. I always love, because I was a previous wedding photographer. And so I've heard engagement story. I mean, over 200 engagement stories. I've shot close to 250 weddings. And so hearing yours, I'm like, that's one I have never heard before. Yeah. And I love it. I love that your love is explosive. Thank you so much for being committed. I put in our newsletter that so often couples, when they're telling the story of a couple, they're like, it all started when they fell in love. And I'm like, for us connection coders, it all started yes, you fell in love, it's because you fought tooth and nail to stay here and you didn't give up on it. And so we all get to benefit from your journey and your story and y'all fighting for what you did and not and being so devoted, not only to yourselves, but to everyone else for them to also benefit. Yeah. And so thank y'all for that work and for doing that.
And I want to interject into that because I just want to make sure it's clear, because I hear this from people from time to time, is first of all, I don't believe in the right one. I don't think there's the right one. I saw a comedian the other day says, if in fact there's the right one, the statistics say that they live in China, because there are a larger percentage of people living in China than any other country in the world. So probably your one that you're looking for lives in China, which is a silly notion. So they might live in Nebraska, and you're never going to Nebraska. So sorry, all you Nebraskans out there. But anyway, it's not a matter of marrying the right one. It's not finding the right one. It's finding the right way and marrying the right way. And we did neither. That does not mean that we should have, we or Phyllis should have filed divorce papers. What should have happened, and what we're trying to promote around the world, is that somebody gets hit with core level anger in the relationship and says, we're not doing this anymore. This is not right. This is not working. This is not what we signed up for. And it's a we thing. It's not a you. We did not sign up to live in pain, disconnection, agony every day. We got to make a change. Now, Phyllis and I made a lot of efforts. I read a lot of books. We went to a lot of seminars. And we didn't have a lot of help. We didn't have tools. But for some of you listeners today, you need to have that moment in any of your relationships, whether it's with your parents, your kids, your neighbors, but with your partner, to say, okay, this ain't right, but we got a problem here. We're making a change. Now, we would love to be able to assist you in that journey. We know absolutely that we can help you, but get some help. Don't stay defeated. Don't stay, I'm thankful this girl stayed with me, but it would have been great if, 6 weeks into our marriage, either one of us, Phyllis was probably more in tune than I was at that point, but, for one of us to say, okay, we're making a change here. We ain't doing this. It doesn't mean I'm leaving you. It doesn't mean I'm filing divorce papers. It just means we are going to shift, because life happens organically. So we didn't know that, no. Put your seatbelt on. You're in this thing for 2 decades of struggle. We didn't know that. But we want people to be emphatic and say, okay, we're making a shift here. Got to make a change. Yeah. Again, that doesn't mean I'm leaving you. It just means we're going to shift this, because there's and pain. The message of pain is there's a problem. And people living in pain, tune in. Phyllis calls them text messages from God. God's sending you a text message going, hello, you're experiencing pain. There's a problem. Good. Don't leave your hand on the hot stove. Don't just stay there. Doesn't mean you don't ever use a stove again. It just means you do something different. You shift it, because the pain is trying to communicate something to you.
Yeah.
If you're new to the connection codes, I feel like this whole thing is a building block. And often, like with clients, Glenn will say, this is the hardest thing you've ever done in your life. And it is true, because I think we want to give up too soon on most things we try. Like if you are deciding that this summer you're going to, for the first time, go swimming every day. Well, most people give up pretty quick, because it's just hard. It's hard to stick to anything and be consistent with most things. Yeah. And so that is true as well. And when we start with the connection codes, the very first thing is tuning into yourself. Most of us don't know how to do it. That's where the core emotion wheel is our number one tool, because it just helps you to learn what's happening with you. It's not that this is unique in the sense of there's only a couple of people out there who have emotions. That's not true. We all have emotions. Yeah. But really, it's more that many of us don't know we have emotions, and they happen to us. You can't choose them. You can't opt out of them. Many of us are numb to them. So the core emotion wheel is that beginning place of tuning into yourself. And then once you've tuned in, then you begin to identify pain, like really identify pain. Yeah. Not just ignore it or be numb to it. And it's interesting how we even in our society deal with pain. We call it pain management. And it's like, wow, I want to figure out how to get out of pain. And I know I've shared on the podcast a lot, just my own physical journey. And I want to do a shout out to Elijah Runyon because we went out to California for several things, but saw him and his beautiful wife, Christina, and their kids. And he worked with me kind of like, you're in pain, like my whole legs stuff. And he goes, he wants to work with me. Like he was like, I want to figure out what's happening with your body. And he's an incredible coach in that, like just he puts it all together, like the physical and the emotional and the nutritional and like what's happening. I feel like I've been managing my pain, right? And, we manage in different ways. Some we just do the ibuprofen every day kind of life. Or we may go, I just can only move this much. And then I have to sit with my feet up for X amount of hours, which is pain management. Well, Elijah comes in and he's like, let's figure out what the problem is and let's work on changing this and fixing this. Well, that's a lot of work and it's a commitment, but to see the change, like to see that I am having many days where I'm not in pain is incredible.
Wow.
And I tell him, I said, I'm still aware of my legs, but I am really getting to have the victory of the consistency of what he's having me do. But I think about that, even with what you just shared, that number one, if you're not even tuning into your pain, then the thought of doing anything about it is not probably happening. And then I think a lot of us don't believe we can actually make some changes that can stop the pain. I think we just have to live with it. Or what we call pain management. We'll just manage instead of, no, I think I'm going to change the things in my life that I need to change to actually bring about true change.
Yeah.
So it's like learning to tune into the pain, identifying the pain, actually saying what the pain is, and then doing something to change the pain. Ooh.
Yeah.
For many of us, we don't ever get to that last one.
Because let's be honest, that last one is not easy.
No, it's not.
It is not something that you're going to wake up and you get to eat this one special meal and then now it's easy. Where the ibuprofen, that just takes care of it. I can pop this in or I can pop in this pain pill and just not feel it at all. That sounds much better than actually exercising every day and changing my diet every day. And for people that are experiencing emotional pain, the thought of going into that, the thought of walking into that pain is terrifying. That's scary, especially when it's not just your pain, but now you're sharing life with someone else and we've got to do it together. That's intense. And that's something that we often talk about is people will start this journey and then they hit a hard moment and they're like, nope, I'm done. I'm out. This doesn't work. That's what they say. This doesn't work. And actually it is, because it's signaling to you what needs to shift. That's how you know it's working.
Somebody sent me a reel the other day, and I've never seen the show, but I've heard of this, My 600-Pound Life. And I don't even know if it was from that, so it could be off, but this won't be accurate, but it'll be close. But anyway, they sent me this reel. And it's a woman, I gather she had weighed 600 pounds and she's down to 539. And she starts out on the reel. She says, losing weight is really, really hard. And and I think she planned it this way because it was just very powerful and emotional. And she said, people talk about, oh, you should lose weight, but it's so hard. And, you just don't realize, how hard it is. And I don't remember, I think the subscript said that she was down to 539 or something like that. She said, but weighing 600 pounds is really, really hard too. So that's really hard. Dieting, losing weight is really hard. But for me now, it's 61 pounds easier. And I thought, wow, that's just incredible. I've never weighed 539 pounds. I've never weighed 600 pounds. I can't relate to that. But I'm like, dang, that's really cool. That, okay, yeah, we haven't arrived. We're not where we want to be, but it's 61 pounds easier.
Yeah.
So we're headed in the direction where we want to go.
Well, and when you apply that to emotional pain, you have weighed 600 pounds of emotional pain before. And doing the work to get it down pound by pound, that is not easy. And it takes something every single day. But when you don't give up on it, even when it's hard, you can wake up and realize, oh, wow, I'm 60 pounds lighter emotionally. And that is the goal of being able to do that. And we encounter such opposition at times. I have coaching clients now, and one of them is just making insane progress, and I'm so happy for her, and it's bringing me so much joy. But we often this process is hard. Like we have to talk about and acknowledge that we're 8 weeks in together, me and her. And she's like, oh, there's still days that it's really hard. Yeah. And man, I get that. I wish that I had a light switch that I could flip for you. And I think back to Wes and I, we're 4 years in. And those first 60 days, like if I could have made the progress she has in the last 2 months, holy moly, she's where I was in year 2, probably.
Wow.
And having people, one, to join with you, that makes a huge difference. But the not giving up on it, the continuing to push in and do the core emotion wheel when it's uncomfortable, and do the core emotion wheel when you're angry and you want to, we have an episode called I Wanted to Punish My Partner. Like when you have that feeling of they hurt me, I want to hurt them back. That's when you throw that core emotion wheel down. And it is hard to do because you want to hurt them. But when you can do that, that is what will get you to the other side. And we talk a lot about backlogging as well. So let's talk about that for a second. That often we have a backlog of emotion. And so when you start this journey, then sometimes you have to uncover a lot underneath it. That's a phrase that you've used recently, that it's not like you can just start and, oh, now we're just brand new people. Nothing ever happened before this moment. But no, we are bringing in 20 years of my family of origin, childhood trauma, and now, 5 to 15 to 1 year of our own trauma we've done with each other. So it can be a lot to uncover in the beginning. But the more you do it, the more those emotional pounds can shed.
Yeah. Yeah, I do have to say something because you just said it that way. I just love that because we hear that from people all the time. They go, oh, the connection codes don't work. Because on Tuesday afternoon, I oohed her and she was still mad at me. I'm like, well, okay, I get that. But that's because she's not a cyborg. If she's a cyborg, you adjust the little knobs or computer programming, and then you do it once well, and you live happily ever after. Well, welcome to humanity, because humans have memories, and she remembers, pick a number, 942 woundings with you. So I'm thrilled that you oohed her on a Tuesday afternoon. You're going to have to ooh her, I don't know, pick a number, 47 times before she even notices that something has shifted, before she even realizes, oh, wait, this is different. Like, he's not fighting with me. He's not arguing with me. He's not defending. He's not gaslighting me, throwing it right back in my face. But she's going to take a bit for her to notice that. I'm not saying it's fair, but it's just real. That's just the reality, whether you like it or not. And again, you're 61 pounds lighter. It's 61 pounds easier. So, yeah, keep going. I'm not saying you've arrived. I don't think you ever arrive. But we're on a Tuesday afternoon, and then Tuesday evening, Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. And then she starts noticing, wait a minute, this is different than what we've been doing. It changes the whole dynamic.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about what you were just saying, that, the coaching client that you have, and you see the progress in 8 weeks, and you're like, oh my word, this would have been year 2 for me. And I think, okay, what's the difference? Well, she is walking weekly, multiple times a week with a coach.
Twice a week.
Yeah. And I think about that, like I was mentioning, shout out to Elijah, that I have been trying all kinds of things on my own. And it's not that I haven't seen some progress in all the things I've tried, but when I finally, I started talking about it before I even connected with Elijah, but I kept finally realizing I need a coach. Like, I need someone. And for me, I need the accountability. I need to know that he's checking on me multiple times a week, and that we're Zooming and all the things. And it's like, we're not even in the same state. And yet I'm getting so much help. Yesterday said I'm an excellent, he didn't say student, but like I'm doing the thing, but I'm still struggling. Like there's days I don't want to do the stretches, and there's days that I, overdo it. And then my knee is bothering me or something is bothering me. And so it's not that there aren't days of struggle, but it's like I know I can even, or a victory, like I can just text him and say, Joy, I just got to go for a walk with Glenn, and it felt good. And I, just things like that. And I think that the coaching piece in life is so valuable.
Yeah.
And I'm super proud of our Connection Codes team now that we have. If you go to our website, you see we have a whole bunch of certified coaches. Yeah. So if it's like, if you've always thought, well, I can't afford Glenn, or I can't, that schedule is too complicated. Hey, get back on our account, get back on our website and see all the different coaches that we have, because you may actually find someone that really fits what stage in life you're in.
Yeah.
And I just love that. And it starts with identifying the pain.
Yeah.
And then to realize for some of us, it's a journey. Like you may not immediately be ready to jump in with a coach. Sometimes it takes a little bit of your own exploration. And then I think you do, when we hear this, like I think we were talking about another client of yours that just got really angry. Like it's almost like once you open yourself up to some of these emotions and start really examining things, they can bring out a lot of anger. And a lot to process there. And
the anger's already there.
Right.
It's really important you understand that. We're not trying to get you pissed off. You're already pissed off. You've just been ignoring it, denying it, suppressing it, stepping around it for years. And what's your name? Tira, sorry. Tira mentioned the backlog. Yeah, you've got 9 years of anger that's backlog is built up inside of you. Well, that's got to come out somewhere. It's going to.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that I really have learned to appreciate about the core emotion wheel, which we will share in just a few minutes. This is the tool that Dr. Glenn and Phyllis have created to help us process what is in our body. And there's so many benefits to it. I actually recently, this is so cheesy, I can't believe I'm going to admit it. Those commercials where they're like, take Zentralta, this drug, it will change your life. Buy these things if you're whatever. But here are all the side effects, heart disease, stroke, and they go through and I'm like, oh, so if I take that, I'm going to die,
And visit this magazine and it has 2 pages of tiny font,
totally.
0 size font.
Yes.
That tells you all this.
It just goes on and on and on about the side effects. Well, this is so cheesy. I was pictured the other day a commercial of the Connection Codes core emotion wheel and do this if you're experiencing this, and here are all the side effects. And I feel like I'm finding new side effects all the time of positive things that the core emotion wheel does. From obviously y'all started out using this is how you connect. That was our big driver. This is how you connect with your partner. But this is how you re-identify the emotions. We talked about a few episodes back how our emotions got shoved to the back of our brain. And when we bring them forward, that's how we can actually function. It reduces overwhelm and anxiety. It combats depression, all of these things. One of my favorite big epiphanies that I had is it gets us more comfortable feeling the hard emotions, the ones that we tend to want to pop that ibuprofen for.
Right.
So typically when we're feeling hurt, when we're feeling pain, where's the pain management? What can I put in my body to suppress, ignore it? But when we do this every day, when we're not actively feeling that pain. So Wes and I, we did the core emotion wheel this morning, and we were just on a morning walk, and he's like, why don't we start our day doing the core emotion wheel? So in that moment, I wasn't acknowledging any hurt in my body. I wasn't acknowledging. So often we hear people say, why would I want to feel that? Why would I want to bring that up?
Wow.
But the more I've been able to identify the hurt and doing it in those moments, the more comfortable I am in the hurt on a Sunday afternoon when someone says something hurtful to me.
Wow.
It no longer triggers this really, really intensity as much. And I mean, obviously there are outliers to that. I mean, if somebody throws a knife at me, that's going to hurt.
Yeah.
But in those moments that used to feel like these intense wounds, they're a little softer now because I'm more comfortable feeling hurt because I'm teaching myself to recognize it all the time. And that to me is just such a powerful tool to get us more comfortable in the pain.
Well,
Because like you said, Glenn, we're going to feel them every day. You're going to feel it every day. And if you ignore it, it's still there.
right.
And it's still going to be affecting you. My clients that I'm working with right now, headaches, back pain, lockjaw, it is physical ailments that their emotions
Wow.
have really embedded into them.
Yeah.
And those are not outliers. That is society. That is how we live. Those people are not broken or bad or anything. That's what we have been trained to do. But by using this tool, it helps us to.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and again, I want to emphasize, we're not trying to get Tira to feel hurt. She already felt hurt. We're just trying to get her to process it, just like you step on a nail. I'm not trying to put a nail in your foot. I'm trying to get you to recognize, oh, I have a nail in my foot. Well, no, I'm just going to ignore it. Sorry. Welcome to planet Earth. You don't get to do that. The nail is still in your foot. It doesn't go away. And you're like, nope. No, I took an ibuprofen. I don't even notice it anymore. It's still there. It doesn't dissipate. Now, in our story, that was such a big thing when Phyllis's mom was passing for a little over a year. And she would say, well, I don't have time to feel sad. I'm like, babe, I'm not trying to get you to feel sad. You already feel sad. So what if we process the sadness, which we were just figuring a lot of this out at the time. But I wasn't trying to get her to feel sad. She already felt sad. She was just ignoring it, suppressing it, denying it. I also have to mention, because you said, talked about coaches, we have coaches in multiple nations, multiple languages now. Every listener to this podcast and everybody that knows somebody that listens to this podcast needs a coach. We all do. This is not because you're special needs or, you're high maintenance or anything. No, we all need coaches. We all need teamship. And I encourage you, challenge you. I don't know what your resources allow, but once a month, for goodness sake, at least. And some of these coaches are just, I don't know, they blow my mind. So, which I would have to say that because we're the team here. But I'm just telling you, just reach out. It's worth you just experimenting with them and just try it. And I think you will be startled at the effect that it has. And we always say it's not a cost, it's an investment. And connection coders end up making a lot more money because these emotions, Tira always calls it the emotional backpack. You're carrying a backpack around with you that weighs 190 pounds every day, all day long, and you didn't even notice it. So how effective are you going to be? How much is that going to affect you running a race? A lot. If you watch, the Olympics are about to start, and we love the Olympics. Nobody's carrying that extra backpack around with them because they're trying to be the fastest they can be. Somebody jumps in the water for a swimming race and they have a 190-pound backpack on their back. It's like, what are you, an idiot or something? Do that in training. Don't do it in real life.
Yeah.
You don't want all this extra weight. And that's what's happening. We're carrying all this extra weight with us.
Before we started our podcast today, we were just talking about you doing the core emotion wheel with Wes this morning, as you've shared a moment ago, and just even identifying loneliness. And I think about that, we're in the middle of summer, and as many of you know, Tira and Wes have 4 children, and they're home. And you're working every day, and they're home. And there's a loneliness in that. And I just want to acknowledge that because I think if you as a listener are in that as well, like it's in the middle of summer, your kids are home, it can feel really lonely, which lonely fires in the pain region of your brain. So you're in pain every day. And to me, it's such a, it's a conflicting situation because you love your kids.
Yeah.
You want the best for them in the summer and you want them to have fun, but there's this lonely in the, oh my word, I still have to work.
Yeah.
And I'm having to make sure that they are not turning into couch potatoes and that they are active and they're doing fun things.
And that they're not killing each other.
But I think that the beauty of being able to even acknowledge that and even share that with us and speak that with us. Because I do wonder, if this had been you 5 years ago, what your summer would be like right now. And I think it goes to most often terms like, I am so stressed out. My kids are stressing me out. I'm so overwhelmed, which those are not core emotions, right?
Yeah.
They're the result of unprocessed emotion. And to realize, oh, it's loneliness,
Right.
which is a pain experience. And to be able to share that with Wes, which you did this morning when you were walking. And then when we came over, you shared it with us. Like, there's so much power in that awareness and being able to even speak that out loud and just to be able to acknowledge that, like, ooh, yeah, this feels really lonely. And we were talking about in a month from today, the kids will be back in school, and that you've already got a plan, like even with getting out of the house, going to a working space, and, you know, even our assistant Spencer joining you once a week. Like, to me, it's already that active, oh, this will be, there's joy in that, right? The looking forward to. But I think there's so much power in acknowledging that pain, not ignoring it and not trying to stuff it, you know, into the back region of your brain or down into your gut or your, you know, but to be able to just talk about it.
And because in acknowledging it, that's where you can get the solutions and get the help that you need. You know, if I just continue to sit in my loneliness and don't realize, why do I feel so bad all of the time? You know, I'll be sick by the end. But being able to say, like, okay, this is where I'm struggling. This is where I need partnership. And because you even asked, like, well, what do you need? That fourth question is so beneficial to be like, okay, now that I can see exactly what it is. And because that's also huge, identifying it correctly. That's something I'm really becoming aware of, because I could just say, well, it feels like anger. I'm angry all the time. And if I just try to fix the anger, I'm not getting to the core of what I actually need, where lonely says, I need support. I need to be with someone. And so when we're trying to fix the surface emotion and not getting to the root of it, we're not actually going to make it very far. There's still going to be stuff down in there. We will continue to feel stressed and annoyed. So that's another side effect of the core emotion wheel, is it teaches you how to properly identify. When I'm doing this with my coaching clients, there are times they'll do the wheel and one of them will have something I'm like, oh man, there's probably 10 emotions in that one thing. I've done the core emotion wheel 3 times in a coaching call before, because that's the goal. Like, we're going to keep going deeper and deeper and deeper till you can get it all out. And it's been so interesting to watch them do it for the 3rd time and say things that they were surprised by. Like, oh, yeah, I was feeling that. And I didn't even know I was feeling that. But now that I've said it, deep breath. It feels so different.
Wow.
And so that is what we are teaching. And if you're in this journey and you are like, oh man, it feels really hard right now. Yeah, it does. It can feel really intense at times. But the more you practice it, the more you get your brain and your body and your heart in sync with each other and feel connected to yourself, the more you get these things out of your body, the lighter, the freer you're going to feel and be able to connect not only with yourself, but with others. And that is the reason we were created. That is the goal of life, is to live in connection. That's why there were 2 people made in the beginning. And I just think it's so powerful and so beautiful. And we encourage you to not give up. For sure. And if you need to reach out to a coach, please, like Phyllis said, there'll be links in the show notes to find one. And also I have a coaching program right now. It's a 12-week program where I am walking with people that are overwhelmed. It's called the Overwhelm Overhaul. And so it is for those that are waking up and they're like, I'm so overwhelmed, Tira, I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't even know what to do with any of this. And I am helping them get these tools to where it is a lifestyle. It is not just habitual, but this is how they are living. It is an immersive program to where when you get to the end of that 3 months, your overwhelm will be cut in half.
Wow.
And we have seen it. We know that it's possible. And so that is what it is. There will be a link in the show notes where you can book a discovery call and see if it would be the right fit for you. And so now we are going to share this core emotion wheel. This is the tool with so many side effects that if I try to name them all, will take 10 more minutes in the podcast.
Yeah, I just have to mention real quickly, just to emphasize what you're saying. If you haven't done the Foundations Masterclass, you have to do it. You just have to do it. We're not judging you. We're just looking at you poorly. That's all. But it's just so powerful. And the reason we say that is because we lived it. The reason Tira says that is because she's living it. She has experienced this. We're not just trying to sell a cooler vacuum cleaner. This is life. This is how we breathe. Also, send a podcast. We know people that give away cases of books every month, and they're just sending them literally all over the world. You are in the Connection Codes cohort. You're on the vanguard of changing people's lives all around the world, and we have to get people focused on this. And there are, each of you, everyone listening to this knows 5 people who desperately need this today, this week, right now. So be that person, be that voice. I get it. There's some fear in that for a lot of us. But people need you. And you can reach people that we will never meet. We will never reach them. And you have that ability.
I have some fear because we just gave several calls to actions for you guys.
I thought the same thing.
No, I get that. But that
do
is...
everything. That's all I'm asking you.
No,
do everything.
It is do something. That is the whole point of this podcast, to tap in. If you recognize you're feeling pain, to not sit in it,
right?
To actually take action. And we have a host of opportunities for you to take action in whatever your budget is, whatever stage of life you are in and your needs. We are here to help you get unstuck. And it blows my mind that people will invest in so many other things and not invest into themselves. And I get it. It's hard to commit to putting money down to do it, but that is how you will wake up a year from now in a completely different place than you are today. Yeah. And so now you want me to do it? You pushed it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Cool.
So we're ending today's podcast with Tira doing the core emotion wound, so you can see how it's done.
Yes. Okay. Now I've got to switch my brain over how to tap in. I feel anger. Oh, I know. I feel anger at my sister, and maybe she's listening. She knows that I'm angry. She gave my kids a lot of sugar yesterday, a lot, and then she left. And then I navigated my kids by myself for several hours. And yeah, I felt a little bit anger with her about that. I feel shame. I feel shame because I have so much on my plate, and it's all things that I love intensely. And I feel shame that I can't get to everything that I want to do. So I feel like there's a deficit in me, that I'm not enough. I feel guilt. I have guilt. Wes ordered groceries last night and had them delivered, and they got here at 10 p.m. And I laid in the bed while he unpacked all of the groceries. And so I have guilt that I didn't even offer to help him in that moment. I have fear. I have fear. I have fear right now because my kids are kind of in different places. And I just hope, as a mom, I always have fear of how are they being right now? When they're not with me, how are they being? And so I just have fear that they're causing ruckus somewhere. Moms will get that. I feel lonely. I'm in my office 4 out of 5 days by myself, the majority of the day. All day, and just so much lonely in that. I feel sad. Wes and our calendars are not syncing right now. We're not getting very much time with each other. And there's just sadness in that. We really like each other a lot. And so I have sad there. Hurt. I feel hurt. I spent some time this weekend with someone that I have some sharp pain with. Yeah. And so just being with them stirs that up. Yeah. And so I just felt hurt, kind of processing into myself for that relationship. And I feel joy. I feel joy because there are just so many good things happening right now. Wes is just crushing life and achieving his dreams, and so proud of him. And I love summer, and I'm going to go to the pool today. And yeah, just lots of joy in doing this. So yeah, thank you. And thank you to our listeners. Like being able to share that this morning when Wes and I were on our walk, and I was able to share with him exactly what was happening for me. And then I could hear exactly what was happening for him. It's like, oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, I get it. totally understand why you laid in the bed last night instead of helping me with the groceries. Like, it connects us. It lets us see what's happening underneath the surface. Because often I'll hear people, they'll say, well, I was upset with my partner, because this happened, or I felt disconnected. I always think, well, there was something happening with them too. Yep. We have these sharp edges and we stab each other with them. But when we can actually share what's happening on the insides, we can soften with each other. And so, if you would love to connect, there are going to be links in the show notes if you want to find a coach, if you would like to do a discovery call or find the foundations course to go with through that process with your partner. That is an incredible way to dive in and start. We just really want to encourage you to not give up, to say, I'm just going to sit in this. Like this is as good as life is going to be for me, because we know what is possible and what can happen on the other side of that. So thank you so much for being here today. We do all of this because
you need this.
You deserve this. So let's do this.
Let's do this.